All right, and we're live. How's it going? Hey Anderson, what's up? Oh man. So I just got this coffee in. I've been missing my coffee for like, I don't know, a few weeks, and it's been terrible. There's this coffee from Oakland that I get, and it just makes my life so much better. Okay, so if you're just tuning in, we're gonna continue working on this app here. This is kind of what we have so far. And the last time we were working on it, let me move my mic over. The last time we were working on it, we started working on this like transition where if I hit buy tickets, then the background image kind of fades away. And then all of the foreground images kind of animate up from the bottom. Although they're not, I guess they are animating up now, but they're not really doing a great job of that yet. So that's kind of right where we left off. So we're gonna play around some more with that. And then, I'm not sure what we'll want to do. We'll probably want to disable scrolling once this happens. So the idea is that when it animates into this, the front card is gonna like expand and sort of take up the whole screen. You can kind of see it here, which this is the design video that we're going off of. Yeah, so right here. So that's the look that we're going for, and we'll be trying to make that happen today. So that's where we are if you're just tuning in. All the way from Tanzania. That's cool. Well, thanks for joining. Hey Marcel, how's it going? Okay. So, oh, you know what? My IntelliJ isn't hooked up properly. Let me fix this real quick. Okay, that fixed it. Great. Hey Sky Color, how's it going? Hey Fletcher. Okay, let's see. I need to kind of reacclimate myself because I haven't been working on this since we last looked at it. So I remember we were kind of moving things into this carousel state because the carousel is now kind of doing a lot. I think basically how I'm treating this from like a high level perspective is that you can kind of imagine that, like imagine we're like a third party developer, like a library developer. I guess what I'm building is a pretty bespoke carousel. But I'm still going to think about it as if it was kind of, going to be used in more places than just this one place. But where I kind of landed was the API of the carousel is that it takes in both a foreground image and a background image. So there's this like the background poster which covers the whole screen, or like the background of the whole screen, and then there's like the image of the front. And in the case of this like Good Boys one, it kind of looks like they're the same image, but you can see in the case of Joker that they're not. They're actually different images for the front and the background. And then just what happens in general is when we tap to sort of go to the detail page. Hey Dev Souza, how's it going? You know, we have this very bespoke animation that's happening, and then the foreground image kind of goes into the screen, and then all of the foreground images kind of pop up, and it looks like at kind of different rates, and so they like pop up in the background. And obviously the like chosen poster image is hey, thanks Fletcher, appreciate it. So the selected movie, that poster image is going to be centered and like have a higher Z index than all of the other ones. And so that's one thing that we're doing wrong right now, and we'll have to deal with that. But it looks like, I mean, the other ones kind of bounce around a little bit. So like, it's hard to see. Yeah. As they animate up, there's a bit of a spring to it, and we're using a physics-based spring animation right now, but it's critically damped, so it's not really bouncing at all. We can change that with just a single parameter, which I'll probably do, but it's a good thing to like keep in mind. Okay, so back to our thing. What do we got here? So I wonder if it might start completing the effect a bit more if we start focusing on the poster in front actually getting bigger. So I think that's what I'm going to try and do next. So you can see here, so this is the code where we have a single expanded animated value. And so when it's 1, it like that item is expanded. When it's 0, it's not. And so this is, we just sort of toggle back and forth between it right now. But this one value is kind of going to drive all of the other parts of the transition. So let's start thinking about that. Where do we use it? So here's expanded, and we've got this. So this is where we start animating in some of the. So this is like the normal background, and then this is the expanded one, which uses the foreground image. And we'll want to change the Z index of this or do something to deal with that at some point, but I'm just going to leave it for the moment. Okay, so here what we're doing is we're passing in so we're passing in expanded here. And so maybe what I'll do is I'll just say, okay, expanded dot value. And we'll see how that goes. So now when we animate expanded, it's going to recompose this item. And actually, it's kind of interesting. I wonder what I might do. This probably won't matter, but content. I'm just gonna scope each one of these so that do I want to do that? Hi, Vitor. Well, so I guess to kind of say out loud what I'm thinking here is right now this one expanded value is being passed into every single item. And that means that as we do this animation, as it is right now, we would be animating each item into this like fully expanded state. And I don't really want to do that. What I want to happen is really just for the one item that was chosen, I want it to animate. And that's it. So, I mean, one thing that we can do is we can have independent expanded values. So we can, instead of just this one expanded float, we can have n of them, like where n is the number of items in the carousel. But I'm not sure that we want that because it's, I don't know, it just seems wasteful because each, like, we're never going to expand more than one thing. So I'm not sure that I want to do that. What I might do so we can try this, like expanded for index if index equals state dot selected index. Yeah, this isn't great. Maybe doing one for each item is okay. All right, let's see what this ends up looking like. So, if it's the selected index, Marcel says, I'm streaming myself, getting the hang of compose currently, but today I got a bit stuck trying to clip a composable with a vector asset. Is that possible at this time or planned at all? Or should I rather define the path manually using something like generic shape? Trying to clip a composable with a vector asset. Well, I don't know. I mean, there might be multiple ways of accomplishing what you're wanting to accomplish here. and some might be better than others, and I'm not sure I'm the best person to know exactly what's going to be like the best performance and things like that, but you can use draw layer, for instance, which like define the path manually. So like you could say clip true, and then you know, use some shape here to basically clip on that shape, and then you know what's inside that, like it doesn't matter if it's a vector asset or anything else, like that'll just clip what gets drawn to the GPU. But there might be some like vector asset specific way of doing it. I don't know it, if there is. So yeah, you could try that. But I'm not sure if that's the best way or not. Sorry. Vitor says I'm stuck trying to use bottom sheet scaffold state to show an up or down icon because it says I'm trying to access a snapshot that has not been supplied or applied. So that's weird. If it's saying that you're accessing a snapshot that has not been applied, I wonder. Well, so one, if you don't mind posting or filing a bug with that, with like the code to reproduce, then that, like basically we're trying to make it so that, you know, in general snapshots, like it'll be hard to write code that gets into this state, into this exception. But like generally speaking, the way to let me see, hold on one second. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up. Yeah, it's interesting that you're running into this. If you could file a bug, I see that you tweeted that Stack Overflow link to me. I'll try and forward that to someone who will be more equipped to, like, because I think what you're trying to do isn't that weird, and so I might be able to tell you how to get rid of the error, but I think that it's arguably it arguably should be considered a bug. So yeah, sorry Victoria, that's not a great answer, but I'll look at it in more detail after the stream. Okay, so what was I trying to do? Okay, so I mean, I think we're gonna have to change this at some point, but like just to maybe get started, we can do something like this. So we can say, okay, if the index is the selected index, then give expanded value, else just use 0. And then we can pass that in here. And so ideally, what ends up happening here is like at the very least, like, you know, this is going to get skipped for all of the composables that aren't the selected one, because it's just getting past the same item and 0. Which I'll go ahead and mark movies as mutable. So I think that will get us something that approximates like what we want, but I think later on we'll try and tweak this a bit. So let's so that'll get passed into the foreground, and then actually, so the width of the item is decided by the foreground, so by the foreground content composable, which for us is going to be this movie poster composable, and we'll need to pass in the expanded value here. So let's just do that, which could change at some point, but yeah, it's good for now. And then okay. So here, what I'll do is we'll pass in expanded. And it looks like here's where I'm setting the width. So let's see. This is screen width in TP. This is kind of interesting. I mean, so what I might do here, let's just say, let's try this. So there's a modifier called animate content size. And I might give that a shot. So when we do this, basically we can say, you know, if actually I wonder, maybe that's the right way to do it. Maybe we should, like, it seems like we have two options here. So right now what I'm doing is the carousel component is passing an expanded float, so like a float between 0 and 1, and it's using that to kind of toggle, like basically drive the animation from one state to the other. What I could do instead is just pass a Boolean about whether or not it's expanded. And then what we could do is we could animate based on the transition of that Boolean. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm gonna try that. I think that'll yield a better result. So, all right. Let's change. So carousel, instead of expanded float, I'm gonna do Boolean. Okay. And then this is the carousel implementation. So in the state, I think maybe what I'll do is I'll just have like an expanded state. Expanded will state of, and we'll start off with false. Yeah, okay. And so then I think what I can do, we'll try this. Let's say it's a var with a private set. So now I can read it. And then here we can just say that, which simplifies that quite a bit. Ooh, and actually, so okay. Sorry, I'm missing some chat here. What do we got going on? Yes-ish. Oh, we got a little bit of spam. Block that. Okay, so programmer says, by the way, Jetpack Compose looks like Flutter style with coding. Yeah, true. Sky Color says yes-ish, but it's also like React. Yeah, I mean, so saying it's like Flutter is you know, they have very similar programming models, and Flutter, you know, has a very similar programming model to React. It was inspired by React. Compose in a lot of ways was inspired by both React and Flutter. So these aren't like controversial statements, I guess. Flutter, React, and Compose are really similar. Yeah. I mean, in general, the whole industry is kind of moving in this direction. And I mean, I think it's fair to say that React really popularized this programming model. Even React wasn't necessarily like, you know, the first or anything like that. Like mGUI is kind of, you know, interesting in a lot of ways, if you've ever heard of that. But anyway, I like all these things inspire one another in lots of ways. Sky Color, I saw an article about performance between XML rendering and building a view dynamically, and dynamically is way better. So I thought Compose would be the best. My wish for next alpha is to see lazy column 4 be as fast as scrollable column. Yeah, there's still a lot more work that needs to happen for lazy column 4, but there's some really interesting work that's happening on it. There's, I think, either in this alpha or the next one, there's some new DSLs and stuff that that are coming with the lazy column API, not the lazy column 4 API, that are geared towards making some of like the pretty common use cases for a recycler view a lot easier than they would be with the recycler view. And then, you know, behind the scenes, we're still working on some underlying runtime APIs that would allow for like pretty, at least we hope, pretty dramatic improvements on the performance of lazy column. But there's definitely still some kinks that we're working out on that. Okay, so what we got here? What I kind of want to do is like, so let's just say like expanded index is a state of a mutable int, and it starts off with null. That's one way to do it. And then what we could say is, so inside this carousel state, we could say expanded index. So if, just to keep this like toggle behavior, we can say if it's not null, then expanded index is null. Otherwise, expanded index equals selected index. Let's do that. So then inside the carousel, what we can do, so all right, so this is kind of neat. So this expanded value that we have here, which is like this local inside the carousel, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that, and that's now going to be this animate, and I'm going to say, I'm going to pass it a Boolean expression. And so when the expanded index isn't null, then it's going to be true, and vice versa, and then that's going to animate smoothly between 0 and 1. So I'm just going to say then this is 1, else 0. And now that expanded value is going to kind of be just like it was before. But now it's being read here. What can we do? All right, so maybe what I'll do, I think I'm gonna do this instead. So Nicholas says, just dropping in to say hi. Hey, Nicholas. Dev Souza says, Leland, do you think that Compose will be only used for production apps in the 1.0? Because I'm really considering Compose. Should I wait for beta or 1.0? Working with the current UI is kind of annoying. Yeah, I mean, so some people are certainly gonna use it in production. I'm not sure I can really recommend that. Like, it seems like right now, I think that there are, like, you can build real stuff with Compose, but you might end up in a situation where there's like some part of Compose that isn't working because, you know, maybe it's an early bug or a part of a subsystem that isn't quite there yet. Like, for instance, there are still areas we're working on to get accessibility like where it needs to be, and like, if you run into that situation, you don't necessarily have a ton of options. Like, if it's something that it's just something that we haven't gotten to yet, and so that might block you. So, I think it really just depends on like your risk profile and like whether or not like you getting blocked on something is a showstopper or not. And like, if your timeline to ship this app or something is really soon, then it just doesn't sound like a good idea at this time. But I think like using it in pieces, like if you already had an existing app or you were working on an app and you kind of said, okay, like we want to start experimenting with this new technology, and like you're using it to with like a backup plan. Like if something isn't working to the degree that you need it to, having the ability to roll that back is important. But I mean, that again, all that is just like if your appetite for risk, can sustain that, and if it can't, then I don't blame you, and just don't use Compose yet in that case. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's labeled as alpha, and that should mean something, and that like these APIs are going to be changing, and that not every subsystem is mature yet. So keep that in mind. And Skycolor says alphas are way too unstable for production. No native navigation is a big deal as well. Yeah, by the way, I mean, on the navigation front, like it's not hard to use Compose with the navigation architecture component. Like you can wait for like our extension to come out and like work well, but it's not hard to like just do it yourself. But I agree, if you wanted to use like if you wanted to create your own navigation solution inside Compose, I think that that is very hard, and it's unlikely that you will do it well the first time. Like it takes some time to mature those types of libraries. Does the Art runtime know about Compose in regards to caching and stuff, since on the JVM hot code is a lot faster than cold code? Yeah, that's a good question. So I mean, right now, like Art doesn't have any special knowledge of Compose. I can say that definitively. It may at some point, but it doesn't right now. There's some aspects of like if you need the JIT to run or something, you can really see this as a performance hit in Compose code, because there's a lot more library code being exercised in a Compose app than in an app that's using classic views, because the whole UI toolkit is essentially built as a library, and we have noticed that in apps where like the first few seconds as the JIT is running, some things will be, like we'll see big performance hits as a result of that. But also there's a lot of technology that's going into like the Play Store and stuff that allows for, my understanding of this, which isn't very great, is that like there are JIT profiles and stuff that are that are uploaded to the Play Store that allow for the JIT to sort of be pre-optimized for your app. And I think that happens for every app on the Play Store. So I think that the issues that you'll see here will be most significant when you're just like playing around with debug builds and like APKs locally and stuff. But your users should be getting a better experience. But despite that, we're trying to figure out like what we can do to kind of mitigate this problem anyway. So that's a good question. HMI, hi. Okay, cool. Go back to code now. So we could have maybe I'll keep this expanded value passed in. All right. I don't know if I really like the structure that this is taking, but like it's, you know, I don't know. We'll have time to tweak it once the shape starts taking a more clear form. But right now, this like expanded index thing we've got going on is like a little bit goofy. Like I wonder if this is an indication that an API is missing. I'll need to think about that more. Okay. So we can say state.expanded index equals index. And we can use that up here too. That can, I guess that can get us this z-index thing pretty easily. So here we're creating all of the background images. I wonder what I might do is like, let's just copy this. So we don't need this. And then we can say if index is the expanded index, then basically we just continue. So I'll do that. And then let's say state.expanded index. And so that just puts this image up front. I could use z-index here. I don't know. That's maybe a better way to do it, but let's see. So we'll say items What's wrong there? Required T, found T. Okay, that's weird. Actually, I guess let's just remove this like double loop here and we'll just do something like this. So let's just put that inside the if here. And so these are gonna, these kind of animate up regardless. And actually, so one of the reasons I kind of like this structure is that we're gonna have to animate this one a little bit differently. So that might make it easier. Not sure. So let's just say it. And then, so it and selected, so this is always going to be 0. So I think I can just say 0 there. You know, I wonder if it might be better for me to do this offset using a translate here instead. I'll think about that. So Dev Souza asks, what is your current feeling about Dogfooding Compose comparing with your React background? I guess I'm wondering, I'm not sure I understand the question. So like, are you saying like, do I think that Compose is better than React or something? Is that what you're asking? This is the expanded value here. Okay, so all right, now I think I'm gonna go, let's see, is this correctly? Okay, so this is a Boolean now, and that's fine. Like, so now maybe what I'll do is something like this. I'll say if 1 else 0. Vitor says, for me, I want to know if it is what you were expecting or easier or harder to do stuff if you got stuck or something. Yeah, and then Dev Souza responded to my question of, yeah, kind of. So I don't know. I mean, like, there are a lot of things that I try with Compose that are harder than I want them to be, and that's like exactly the kind of things that I want to find. And so sometimes it's just like a rough API like decisions that, you know, we're still kind of figuring out. Sometimes it's like more fundamental sort of design that like we really need to think hard about. And so there's that. And then I think it's often hard for me, like one of the things that I have to grapple with is like I might have a preconceived notion of what an API should be because of my experience. And so maybe there's like an equivalent API that like took a certain shape in the React community, and I've come to know that API that way. And now here we are with Compose, and we need to make a similar design decision. And sometimes we make very different decisions, and there are a lot of like reasons that go into that. Well, one is like, I mean, maybe React didn't make the right decision, right? Or whoever it is that we're looking at for like equivalent APIs. The other thing is that we're just different. It's a different language. There's different capabilities. It's a different runtime. We're designed very differently, like in the sense that we sort of own the entire toolkit. Like React was born out of the web, and so one, they're in a different context there. Like web websites are not always applications, and so they don't have the same like there are a lot of concerns that a lot of websites don't have that pretty much all apps have to have. Like your app needs to know how to work offline. And there are like you need to sort of, people expect apps to have sort of more of a memory. Like there's something that like they should remember your state, and websites don't have that constraint. Like users have come to learn that if you hit refresh, or you close a tab and then you come back to the website like, a week later, your state isn't necessarily going to be saved. Now, in some cases it is, because people are using the web for more and more, like for application like purposes. But you can get away with things on the web that you can't necessarily get away with on native. And the other thing is like, I mean, there's obviously a ton of difference between web and mobile apps for various reasons. But like more specifically with Compose versus React, React was built to target the DOM, and so there's the web browser already has a UI toolkit, and React is just built on top of it. And that was like, I mean, you're never going to change that, right? Because except maybe in some very special cases, but like that's like if you used Compose to target views, which is possible, that's sort of like the analog. But when we're talking about Compose, we're talking about rebuilding an entire toolkit essentially from scratch. And there's some really cool things that you can do then, and you can start to think about, okay, well, if we designed this whole thing with this declarative programming model in mind, what decisions would we make that are different? And so like some of these questions end up being really interesting, like how to handle like global state is kind of really difficult in declarative systems. So subsystems like text selection and focus and things like that are this sort of like inherently global state, and modeling the APIs for that in this like declarative component-based programming model is still like kind of unknown. Like it's new terrain in this world, and so we're trying to figure out the best ways to handle that. And there's always like differences, and so there have been a lot of cases where an API has taken a shape that kind of initially my gut reaction was like, wait, that's, I don't know, that's not what I would do. Like, is that right? And then after a while, I think about it and come to realize that it was actually like a really good decision. And so, a challenge for me is to be able to differentiate something that is, different from my perspective versus something that is bad. And so you can have something that's like different but actually better when my first gut might have worked okay, but it's just familiar to me, and so it feels like it's the better option. But it's not until I familiarize myself with the alternative option that the real thing comes out. And so figuring out what those things are, that takes time, and that's what a lot of this like this dog fooding, that's a lot of what it's good for, is to actually kind of use these APIs and figure out which APIs ended up being unfamiliar and bad versus the APIs that were unfamiliar and good. And maybe it's like unfamiliar and like almost good. It's like maybe I end up realizing like, oh, if we just did this would be perfect, or this would be great. And so that's what I'm hoping, to get out of this. And the way Compose works is a lot different than React. The programming model can end up being very similar in a lot of ways, but there's a lot of things that we're doing differently, and it's new territory, and we have to figure out what good API shapes will be from that. And we're still kind of learning. So there's definitely a lot of pieces that concern me. And maybe we'll change them, maybe we won't. It's like it's not that they're bad, it's just that they concern me, because it's it feels like a local maximum or something. And yeah, I don't know, I just said a whole bunch. Hopefully I didn't rant too much, but let me know if that answered your question at all. So let's try and get this movie poster going. Let's see. Okay, so we're dealing with the width of this movie poster up here somewhere, right? Yeah, so here's the movie poster width. I wonder, so now let's see if we can do this like animate content size thing. I think that would be kind of cool. So I think we can do that, and so then we can say if expanded, let's say it's the screen width .dp, else screen width dp. Oh, okay, that's already in dp, so we can say screen width else poster width. I'm curious let's just try that out. We've changed a bunch of stuff, but I think this will kind of work. But the expectation now is that the poster width is going to animate a bit. So see here. Okay. So animate content size is doing some slightly weird stuff here. And also we need to, interesting, yeah, so I wonder why it's... I guess, well, the aspect ratio is going... Okay. So one thing I want to do right away is like, you can see how the yeah, and we should disable scrolling while this happens. So the Z index basically of good boys is wrong. Now, I mean, I guess I can do that just in the carousel in the same way that I'm doing the other thing. So let's try that. So I'm gonna use z-index for this, I think. Never actually used this API before. So let's say if the expanded index is the index, then it's 1 else 0. And I think that'll kind of work, but I'm not sure. Try that real quick. So Sky Color asks, sometimes I have to manually import get value, set value when I do mutable state of. Is that going to be automatic in the future? Yeah, so this is like an IntelliJ issue, and there's some bug filed somewhere for it, but basically the automatic importing seems to get broken in this case, and we believe that the actual API of like the get value set value is correct here, but the like auto importing kind of feature of the Kotlin plugin in IntelliJ is not properly handling this case, and so we're trying to get that fixed. So that should happen eventually, but right now, unfortunately, it's just like a unfortunate side effect of the API. Okay, so we've got this now. That did not work. Did it? Interesting. I don't know. I wonder if this is the wrong order. We can try that. Okay. Yeah, all right, so that seemed to work. Now we need to kind of deal with this thing here. So I'm wondering if this animate content size might be the wrong thing here. Let's play around with that. Where am I? Here I am. So I'm not gonna do this anymore. So what is the, let me look at this animation again. So the top line of the card essentially stays fixed. So we may want to change like our layout so that is like the thing. Because right now what it's doing is it's being positioned at the bottom, kind of regardless of what we do. So that would be something that we would change in the carousel. So here what we'd want to do is actually align it top center, and then our movie poster starting off kind of we'll just need to specify like an actual spacing from the top. So let's do that. So here we are. We're gonna, so we've got this padding on the bottom. Which I'm not sure that we actually want. We kind of want oh, I see. Okay, so I sort of want to put a padding up here, the top, and let's just call it like 200 dp or something. Let's see what that ends up looking like. Oh, sorry, I'm in the wrong window. Thanks for playing the womp sound, but I didn't hear it again. I really need to figure that out. I don't know why the sound isn't coming through to my headphones, even though it comes through on the stream correctly. So did this? I think something's getting positioned in the bottom center still. Did I not press run? I don't remember. Okay. Yeah, okay. So this is kind of, again, we kind of messed up some other stuff, but so now at least the line of the line of the poster is staying the same, which is basically what we want. And let's see, so we want inside this poster here, I think what we could do is, let's see, so this fills max width. So we want to like scale this. So let's give this a draw layer. image scale. And so the image scale is going to be, let's just say it's 0. So it's going to go from 1 to 0 along the transition. And then let's like fade it out as well. So we'll say image alpha, and we're gonna go from 0, or sorry, no, it's gonna start at 1, go to 0 along the transition as well. So is that right? Is the scale and the alpha gonna be the same? I guess so. Yeah, so Dot asks, can you add an interpolator to animation? Yes, you can. What I'm doing by default is I'm using so basically this spring animation spec, which just makes it follow like a physics-based spring like easing, instead of like if you do like ease in, ease out type stuff, it's that's valid, but it's like it's not physics based, and I don't really like that as much because I think it feels less natural when you do it. But yeah, you can customize that there. And then here I'm basically just I'm interpolating manually based on this spring-based interpolation from 0 to 1, and so I'm using that to calculate some other values. But you know, you can do this a lot of different ways. So I'm just gonna say, so scale X, image scale. This is gonna look my image scale, and then alpha, image alpha. Even those are the same, we might want to change them, so I'm keeping them independent. But so what this is gonna do is this is gonna, you know, scale the image, but its participation in the layout system will remain the same. And as a result, I mean, so because our container is animating its width to fill the screen, as we're doing that, we're scaling this image down, but at the same time, the image is growing in size because we have this aspect ratio applied. And so that's not really what we want. So we really want this image to kind of respect like a fixed size in a way. And like I was trying to avoid like passing in the like size of it manually, because like here we're kind of determining this, like I kind of wanted the movie poster to just fill whatever space we gave it, but maybe that's not a great idea. Like maybe it just deserves to have this expanded thing passed in, and then we'll deal with everything on our own. So like let's just do something like this. Let's say expanded size equals expanded width, screen width, and then normal width, poster width. I mean, I don't love this API, but it's sort of an acceptable constraint just because the animation here is like pretty rich, and so we want to make decisions based off these two sizes and calculations based on these two sizes. So I'm gonna allow it, I guess. Expanded width. What did I say before? Normal width. And then basically we're gonna stop doing this. So then this would end up getting applied out here, but so this I'm gonna say is always true. So this is so if expanded, do expanded width, else normal width. But then this image is gonna have a fixed width instead of this fill max width here. So here I'll say width, and that's gonna be this essentially -2 times that, which I'm gonna then just save that in a constant so that I have it. So this is gonna be like poster padding 20.dp. I'll specify that there, and then here I'll say -2 times poster padding. Hey Subash, thanks for the kind words. Okay, so now this image is gonna have a fixed size in terms of the layout system, but it's gonna animate and shrink at some point, and so yeah, let's just see how that looks. We're gonna want to. I mean, there's more that we're gonna need to do here, but this will be an interesting start. So we've got this. Ooh, okay. So some weird stuff going on here. The z-index thing didn't keep. I don't know why that is. Z-index seems finicky. Also, as the images, or as the poster is expanding, the image is staying on the left side. So we want to have the image centered, basically, which we'll handle with this column. We want to have this have a horizontal alignment of that center horizontally. Okay, so Vitor, I'll check out that issue after the stream. Thanks for filing it. And so this z-index thing is not working. I don't know why. So what does this say? Child with a larger z-index will be drawn after. So higher z-index. the default is 0. Okay. Let's see. I wonder if it wants me, I wonder if it's important that I put this in its own container here. So if it's expanded, then I want it to be 1, almost 0. That's what we had before, but I thought it didn't work. Yeah, so unfortunately it looks like z-index is it's not really behaving like we want it to. So Julius asks, what do the lerp functions do in movie poster? Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, this is so right now they're kind of not that useful, but like, so this is lerp. So lerp is just short for linear interpolation. You'll find that we've got a bunch of these defined. I don't know why I needed to define that in here. I don't think I should, but basically, yeah, is it still asking me to? Yeah, weird. So you can see that there are a bunch of lerp functions defined. Let me go. I don't actually know why it. We should have this float one defined. I'm not sure why it's not importing it. I'll have to look into that. But it's just a convenience. But like basically, you know, for some fraction, give me the linear, like the linear interpolation between the start and the end position. So for like how I'm using it here. This is sort of like the inverse of t. So like, you know, when t is 0, it'll be 1. When it ends, it'll be when it's 1, it'll be 0, and vice versa. But if I have like something else, like, you know, 100 and 400, sometimes this is just easier to think of that way. There's also like sometimes these functions sort of like by default don't have it, but like sometimes you want to define like clamping behavior. So you might, you know, say, okay, interpolate between, you know, 1 and 0, but if t is 1.2, then like clamp it at 0. Don't continue along like the linear interpolation of that thing. So some of these things are useful when you're doing animations, but in this case it's a little bit superfluous because this is just a basic transformation of 0 to 1. Vent1c says, I was always doing HTML and CSS and I started Vanilla.js. I felt in love. After 2 months now, I'm doing a Udemy course on Node.js. Now I love it even more. Node.js is awesome. Yeah. Yeah, front end web development. It's fun space. Lots of it's a good developer community and a lot of fast paced kind of change and stuff like that. Okay. So a few things we still need to fix here. So one thing, I'm not sure why. So this has the padding. I'm not sure why this didn't work. It should be centering the items horizontally, but it's not. Although, yeah, is that right? Yeah. So I guess I'm not animating the content size anymore, but even so, the image should remain in the center. Like if I remove this, it should stay in the center, but it doesn't look like it is. Oh. Well, that's interesting. So now it's positioning the whole thing incorrectly. Is that because of the stack that I added? I think so. So I'm going to try removing this again. And then I don't know, the z-index thing isn't working, so that feels like a bug. I know the z-index implementation seems kind of like a little hairy, so might need to look into that. Ooh, okay, so wonder why this is. So the centering's all off, but it but now it centers whenever. Okay, so what determines that? Oh, I guess maybe I know what this is. It's like it's so I think the center is still correct, but the item itself is kind of restricted. Yeah, okay, so I think my movie poster, I need to specify the width directly, which I thought I was. So expanded width, normal width. Oh. Is it? Let me try some. I think it's... It might be taking two, like, this might be like a run bug. So if I change the string, is this gonna install correctly or not? Yeah, okay, so that's where a lot of this confusion has been coming, is it's taking two runs to install properly. I think maybe I need, let me try uninstalling this. I think this is like an Android Studio bug, where it's not running the first time. So let's try this again. Yeah, thanks Sky Color for posting the link. The code is available. It's on GitHub. I'll push the most recent stuff whenever I'm done with the stream. So okay, so let's make this one change and then try building and running. Yeah, see, it's not, the change isn't getting reflected. So I wonder if the apply changes will work correctly. Let's try. This is frustrating if this is what's going on. Okay, apply changes is busted too. Oof. That is not great. All right, well, I'll try and figure out what's going on here, but we'll have to just keep that in mind for this stream. I'll try and fix it later, but for now it's taking 2 runs to reflect the change. I think this is a general studio issue at the moment. Okay, so now what? Gosh, all right. Now I'm gonna try that put the Z index back. Here, Z index. This will say if the expanded index is index, then we're going to be 1, else 0. So I'm going to try running this. Okay, so now, all right, so that one worked, and this one worked. Okay, so Z index is now kind of working as we'd expect, which is great. Let's go ahead and add back our animation here. And so now the image should scale back in place in the middle if everything's working correctly. And then I think what we will want to do okay, that looks pretty good. So we kind of want as it fades out, I guess we want the other things to kind of trail behind it. Actually, it looks like it's pretty immediate. So everything but the stars pretty much follow the animation path here. Well, see, no, I mean, so the scale of the image goes faster than everything else. See, so this kind of brings up like an API that I'd like. Yeah, the GitHub page is public. So let's talk about how I could implement this. Like, what I'd like to have is, so like maybe we've got one. We like, so we've got this here, 1 else 0, right? And so this returns, I mean, this just returns a float, which is pretty neat, but like one thing that I might want is if it returned an animated float, then like, so this could be thought of as like the, you know, expanded but like animated version of it. And then what I'd like to have is something like this. So I can say you know, say Joker position. Or actually, like, this value follows a spring-like physics. And what I want is, I want to have like another spring that is driven by the first spring. And so the React Native Animated API has something like this. So so like basically what you can imagine me doing is like, so let's say I have expanded equals animated float, you know, let's just say 0, and then I can say title, position, and this can be, or it's not even the, it's not even the title position. What I kind of want is like so this is the image height, and this could be another float, right, or another animated float. But what I want to do is I want to basically say like image height is like image height is tracking expanded, but then I don't know if I want that to be an intrinsic part of the animated value or not. So I think actually we have the tools to do this with animated float. So maybe we'll try and build this API. So let's think about this. So animated float tracks other animated float, right? Let's see. So let me see, what does this do? So decayed at create animation. So what we want a spring animation. But I want it to like update the target to whatever the other value is. Spring animation. Need to investigate this class more. So damping ratio. Interesting. So I would have thought, so an animation spec, all it really does is vectorize. So and this returns a vectorized animation spec, which I guess is defined in terms of floats. No. What does this say? they don't assume any starting or ending conditions. Okay, so it's a stateless thing. But where does, like, because an animation comes out of this, right? So what kinds of animations are there? There's just target based. So I guess what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to define a spring animation that instead of, like, it's sort of like a target based spring animation, but the target is variable, like it, because it'll update based on the spring of the other. Wouldn't a second spring with the lower force give you delayed, slower second animation? Yeah, but it wouldn't be the same thing. So, like, what I'd like it, the physics that I'd like to emulate is, you know, basically if you have two masses, or two springs, right, and three masses, if you pull one of the masses, then, or actually, I guess you can, yeah, I mean. So you can think of the spring-based physics of the single spring as like I'm moving one of the masses from point A to point B, like kind of instantaneously, and so then, you know, a spring follows it. And what I want is I want the physics of the second mass with a second spring attached to it that is following the first mass. And that's like the physics I want. I think that'll feel right. I think based on this, like that's kind of what this feels like. And the thing is I know how to do this very easily in React Native, and I don't know how to do it with our animated float API, but that doesn't mean it's not currently possible. It just means that I'm not familiar with the API. And so it'd be interesting to see if I can figure it out, and if not, then, you know, maybe I'll ask someone. But one of the problems is the code navigation right now is kind of messed up, but so like because I can't search for I can't open an arbitrary file right now, which is annoying. But like, I mean, it seems like a spring spec. What is this? So Mom of Dendi says, hello, I'm a recent college grad starting at Google next month. I want to try my hand at my own company soon, but I'm terrible at anything design related. And I usually just stick to backend stuff. Would you recommend I learn design and front end stuff before trying to make a product? Should I just invest and hire someone to do it for me? Asking from an entrepreneurial perspective. Yeah, so, you know, this is actually an interesting question. So I actually found myself in a similar position a long time ago. When when I started the startup that I worked on out of college, I primarily had like a back-end experience. You could kind of say that I was like a full stack developer of sorts at the time, but I didn't like front end was intimidating to me. And I remember at the time we like our kind of number one goal was to hire like a really good front end person. And we interviewed a lot of people. We looked around. We probably weren't the most appealing company to work for at the time, but we looked around a lot and we couldn't really find someone that fit that bill. And so at some point, I just decided like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna learn front end, and I just sort of dove into it, and it ended up kind of changing my career because it was the thing I started to like most about working on our product was actually doing some of the front end stuff. And so, that brought me down this path of sort of specializing in the front end. So I don't know like exactly what advice to give you, but I would say that if you're starting your own company, and you have this like when you're working on a startup, you kind of have to be able to jump into a role even when you're not comfortable with that role. And if you find someone that's like perfect for that role, great, hire them. But don't be afraid to jump in yourself and just learn those things. So that's my advice, I guess, if that's advice. So HMI High says, wouldn't a second spring with a lower force give you that was the question I answered. Then when a threshold is passed, the second spring would then start. Yeah, but so I want everything to start at the same time. It's not necessarily like a threshold. It's more the idea of a spring being attached to another object that's moving around instead of having a defined destination, or like, basically the default sort of spring-based physics are when you've got a fixed point attached to one end of the spring, and then you're attached to some other end of the spring, and then you let that mass go, and then it's got some friction that it's working against, and a spring constant and stuff like that. But it's, for the most part, it's sort of tracking a fixed point for the other end of the spring. And what I want to figure out is when that point's moving. You like a common example of this is like the chat heads. Like, let me see, chat heads. Right. I don't know. Is there like a GIF of this somewhere? Do you all know what I'm talking about? The oops. Oh my gosh. All right. Is there animations here? Anyway, this is I'm just wasting time Googling this, but so this is the functionality that I want, and I'm not sure right now how to achieve it, but I want to figure that out because I think that that's an important thing, and I'm almost positive that this is possible. It's just I'm not familiar enough with the animation API. And not being able to search through this is very frustrating. Like it actually seems difficult based on this interface to achieve that. Because the vectorized animation spec, this is meant to be a stateless thing, and the whole idea is that this isn't stateless. But I guess the animation API, it seems like we can generate that just fine. So where does the target-based animation get created? That's what I want to know. Oh, create animation. Okay, so a spec turns into an animation. Like, it seems like I could, if I had a spring spec, like I could just use the spring spec, and then the end value here is just dynamic. And that would get me what I wanted. Yeah, because the problem is that these require an end value here, and that's what I don't want. Okay. I'm gonna, this is like maybe a bit of a rabbit hole, but I'm just gonna try and create this because I think this is kind of an interesting. I'm a little bit worried I'm gonna talk to someone after the stream and they're gonna be like, oh yeah, there's just this one function that allows you to do this, but whatever, that's sort of the point. So what I want to do, I kind of want to take this, so let's copy this class. And I'm going to create a new file for this just because I've got too much in this file already. Moving target animation. Sure. And so like I wonder, I kind of just want like basically this ends up being that, I think. Really wonder if this is possible. A little bit worried that it's not. So I don't need this other constructor here. So now for get value, this feels wrong. So I don't have a playtime. Okay. This is kind of weird. I wonder. Like, I wonder if I did this. If I said current value flow equals state flow this dot value. Snapshot flow. So if I did this, yeah. This would be interesting. So one thing I could do is I could just have this animate to this other target. And actually it's the other way around. So this is other.value. And then here, I want to say that. And I guess, does this need to be composable then? No. Okay, it's arguing that it's compose or experimental. Sure. And I can do this inside like an on commit or something. Make tracks suspend. Oh, I can only call it. What do I want here? On each should work. I kind of want to see what this does. Okay, so if I did this, image height tracks expanded. Yeah. Actually, let's call this image width. And this is going to be, whoops. All right, so I'll say full image width equals that, and then I'll say image height tracks t. Float. Poster padding, move that up. So dot value dot to float. It's already a float. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. Oh, and then I need to make this an animated value. And then I'll say on commit of this expanded, whoops. T.animate to okay, so T is now an animated value instead of a float, or it's an animated float. Sorry. So then I'll say T.value animate to and then I'll say if it's expanded, then animate it to 1, else 0. Okay. Let's see. I just need to call this once. But this is actually, so instead of doing full image width, so this is just going to be 1. So I'm going to animate the fraction. This is like a really roundabout way of doing this animation, but I'm interested to figure out if this will like accomplish the effect that I'm talking about, because I want to make sure that that's possible. And then we'll see if there's better ways to do it. So then I'm gonna have this do the full image width. Okay. And that works. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna try running this. I'm gonna be kind of shocked if this all works, but delete this file. Okay. Let me bring it up. So when we animate here, that did not work. Okay. Oh. Oops. Not what I wanted. wonder why. So I would expect this to get called whenever it's animating, but it doesn't. Let me try debugging that. Oh, I needed to install it twice though. I probably didn't do that because of that stupid bug. Let me see. All right, let's see if it breaks on that. Nope. Is this even working though? Yeah, okay. Oh, but okay, so this logic is kind of wrong because I'm basically animating from 1 to 1. So this might actually be working. My logic is wrong. So I kind of want this. We can call this like T2, which is kind of annoying, but let me say image width fraction equals so then what we want to say here so this will start when T2 is 0. So this is going to start at 100%, which will be the full image width, and it'll end at 0, and it'll follow T2. Let's see if that works. And then we'll just say .dp here. All right, we'll try that, but we'll run it twice. Have you considered moving the phone over to the left of the file hierarchy to show code and emulator at the same time? Yeah, sorry about that. I'd like to play around with the way all the screens are oriented here, because I know that the emulator makes it hard to read sometimes, especially when the file preview is open. But the problem is that, well, so right now the emulator is kind of in a fixed spot, and I think normally I won't have the file browser open. So I think that maybe this is still like the best spot for it, but I don't know. I'll continue thinking about that. I know it's not great. the way I have it now. So this didn't work. Although I guess the fact that it wasn't breaking on that kind of makes sense. I don't think so. Do I need to use? So Julius asked, don't I need to use launch-in for the snapshot flow? I didn't think I did. What are you thinking that I'll need to do? I guess I could give it, yeah, me. Let me try that. Yeah, maybe that'll do it. Oh, whoops, now this is wrong here. Try that. Gosh, computer is running really slow. Okay. Yeah, Julius, I think you're right. So thanks for that. Hopefully this will work. Oh. All right. Everything is just crawling right now. Okay, it's interesting. I mean, it's kind of working, right? Although it's, I mean, there's some obvious problems here, but trying to figure out why it seems to revert back, and that's surprising to me. So like when it completes, Kafer, the code that we're working on is available on GitHub. If you scroll up in the comments, there should be a link somewhere. Actually, I'm not sure if it'll be in the YouTube comments. Let me just grab it real quick. There, I just posted a link in the comments. So it's interesting that it reverts back to the original value. It seems to, oh, you know, it could be like a height 0 thing. Not really sure. But doesn't look great. All right, I'm pretty unhappy with all this. This is pretty gross. I mean, I could just use the transition API, but even then, like I don't want this to be as hard as it is. I'll try and talk with some people and see what we can do there. But we can, I mean, let's see what this looks like if we start working on the transition definition here. And the thing is, I really don't like defining a transition definition just on Boolean states. It seems wrong. But let's I mean let's see what it's like. So equals float prop key. And then we can say inch scale prop key. So this will be this kind of weird thing. Okay, so let's find the docs for this. Ugh, my computer is really dragging along. It's getting a little bit late. It's 3:30. I've got some chores that I want to do today. I'm gonna... This isn't even the right thing. I might end the stream here. We can play around with transition definition next time. I kind of want to ask a few people about this and think more about how how the animation APIs should work. There's a few APIs that I feel like might be missing here, that today kind of uncovered. But also, I mean, part of this is that I'm just not super familiar with these APIs, so you know, it's I can maybe go through some of the tutorials and stuff, play around with that. But that is where I'm going to close it. Kafer asks, what will happen to activities or fragments when we use compose? I mean, nothing is like happening to them. They're a pretty integral part of the platform. I think that fragments might become less popular is maybe likely. I'm not sure. But you know, they'll continue working. Compose needs you know, an activity or a fragment, or well, it just needs a view to host itself in, and you'll continue needing that. And I'm sure that both will exist in harmony for a long time. So yeah, thanks Julius for stopping by and your help. And thanks everyone else. This was a fun stream, and we'll be working on this tomorrow. So Monday at 1 p.m. We'll be continuing this work. So if you want to stop on by tomorrow for the stream, then please do. And thanks, appreciate it.